The Orlando Magic pretty much know what they're going to get every night from Paolo, Banchero, and Franz Wagner. So all eyes turn to the other starters today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is March 13th, 2025. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, we know what the Magic are going to get every night, it seems like, from Paolo, Banchero, and Franz Wagner. Why it is the other starters and what the other starters must show, prove, and improve upon to be the team the Orlando Magic want to be. We're going to get to Wendell Carter, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and Cole Anthony today on Locked On Magic. And as you can tell, a little more energetic today. I think I broke through my fever here. I think I'm set to go for the rest of the week. But before we do any of that, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, no matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. You can make Locked On Magic an even bigger part of your day with the Locked On Magic Daily newsletter, the one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. At this point, we know what the Orlando Magic are going to get from their top players. We know what Paolo Banchero is going to do every night. We know what Franz Wagner is going to do most nights. Since the All-Star break, Paolo Banchero is averaging 28.1 points per game, shooting 46.8% from the floor, 34.4% from three, 10.5 free throw attempts per game. In 10 games, he has done a lot. Franz Wagner, production slowed down a little bit, 22.3 points per game, shooting 46.1% from the floor. We'll not talk about his three-point percentage for now. But the Magic know that these two players are going to come and bring it. That the formula for the Magic to win, at this point, for good, for better or for worse, it's just what this team is. The Magic need Paolo and Franz to be at an all-star level, 25 points per game each. That's what's going to take for them to win these games. The question becomes, who else is coming with them? The question becomes, can the Magic get production from elsewhere? And that is still the ultimate question for this Magic team. That is still the biggest question mark every game. Because one of the reasons the Magic are in this sense of crisis, a crisis feels too strong, but one of the reasons the Magic are where they are in the standings is the inconsistency of everybody else. It is because, yes, Jalen Suggs is hurt, Mo Wagner's hurt. Those two injuries are huge. Don't need to go over that anymore. The Magic have had a lot of players, and a lot of veteran players especially, have career worst seasons or their worst seasons in several years. It has been confounding. It has been frustrating. And it is something the Magic are going to have to reckon with as they enter the offseason. And like I said, I've talked plenty about the offseason. Everything is pointing to the offseason, but we'll save offseason talk for the offseason. For the Magic to make the most of their team, they need the others to step up. And there have been hints here and there of what these players can do and what they can get from these players. There have been hints. What the Magic need is less hints and something more sure, something more locked in place, something that feels a bit more permanent. That is what matters for the Magic the rest of the season. Before the All-Star break, Wendell Carter came out and said it plainly. In the last game before the All-Star break, Wendell Carter said the 26 remaining games were the most important 26 games of his career. This is in the midst of a career worst season, certainly the worst season since arriving in Orlando, his first season averaging fewer than 10 points per game. Wendell Carter, as much as any player, was given a second chance back in the starting lineup, but had to prove so much. And like so many other players on this team, maybe we'll never know how good he was supposed to be because the injuries just gutted him. Knee tendonitis early in the season, followed by plantar fascia injury that cost him 11 games. Just wasn't able to find his rhythm and very noticeably does not seem to have the lift on his jumper or kind of the springy step that makes him intriguing as a player. But since the All-Star break, Wendell Carter has not turned the corner, but has started to turn the wheel. Since the All-Star break, Wendell Carter is averaging 9.6 points per game. He is shooting 45% from floor, which isn't great. Is not shooting well from three, but has added 9.1 rebounds per game. Wendell Carter, as much as anybody else, is as good a barometer for where the Magic are at as any player. When he is aggressive, when he is physical, when he is assertive, when he is energetic, the Magic become a really tough team to beat. They become a team that you can't break because he can step out to the perimeter and guard guys on the perimeter. He can step out and switch. He can make the Magic more versatile on defense. And that's ultimately why the Magic still believe him. That's ultimately why the Magic still start him. Like I mentioned a few episodes ago, the Magic starting lineup is really good. Like really, really good. Excuse me. Since the All-Star break, the Magic starting lineup of Cole Anthony, Franz, Wagner, Paolo, Banchero, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and Wendell Carter Jr. is plus 19.4 points per 100 possessions in 158 minutes, with a very strong 119.4 offensive rating and a very strong, if you could do math, 100 defensive rating. When the Magic have their starting lineup in, and this, by the way, does include Monday's game against Houston, when the Magic have their starting lineup together, they're going to dominate. They're going to win. They're going to beat a lot of teams. But a lot of it still comes down to whether Wendell Carter is playing with the energy he needs to play with. And for the Magic, ultimately wins and losses, they are 3-7 since the All-Star break, comes down to whether their bench can hold the ship steady. Held it steady Saturday against Milwaukee, did not play well against the Rockets on Monday. It's all about finding others to score and help. I'm not sitting here and telling you Wendell Carter has, again, turned a corner. He's starting to turn the wheel. Starting to make that turn. Hopefully it's not too late. We don't have to go to the runoff here. It is Formula One season after all. Go McLaren. Wendell Carter is important to this team because of that stability he provides, because of that toughness he can provide. But what he hasn't provided is consistency. What he hasn't provided is the reliability of his statistical production and that physical tone every game. Monday's game against the Rockets obviously did not work. He still had 11 rebounds and 5 offensive rebounds. He was not a pushover. But yes, the Rockets got 20 offensive rebounds, 11 from Steven Adams, not all of them against Carter, and 5 from Alperen Sengun. The Magic still got worked on the glass, even though Orlando scored more second chance points. They were just back-breaking plays. And if there's one thing that is still an issue with Wendell Carter, is mistakes compound. You can see it written on his face. I know that video was working its way around, and Paolo dispelled it, but there's a reason people believed it. Wendell Carter still has a long way to go to be the Wendell Carter the Magic need. And ultimately, one of the big questions this offseason is whether the Magic can trust Wendell Carter to get back to where he was, to get back to the player they believed he could be when they gave him the extension. An extension that, does feel a little heavy right now and may be something that leaves them no choice but to stick with him heading into the next season. Whether that's enough, whether that's any of that is still to be determined. And that's why the end of this season is still so vital for him. The Magic need to see that, yeah, Wendell Carter can contribute to this team. That he can be at least the stopgap player they need as they figure the other parts out of their roster. Carter is getting there. And I think his post-All-Star break play has been strong, has been solid. Not where the Magic need, but solid. But it's about consistency. And it's always been about consistency with Carter throughout his career. And he still has a whole lot left to prove. The same can be said for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. We'll talk about how Kenny continues to struggle today, coming up next here on Locked On Magic. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends at TurboTax. At Intuit TurboTax, Taxes was waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back. And then waiting, wondering, and worrying some more. Now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find you every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. Also, you can get the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now, this is taxes. Get an expert now at TurboTax.com. Only available TurboTax Live full service, real-time updates only in the iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is also brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. With Monarch Money, you get surprising insights like realizing just how much you're spending on food delivery so you can now budget smarter and save more. Plus, they have that all-in-one convenience. Instead of juggling multiple apps or keeping track of it yourself on an Excel sheet, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. And with easy collaboration, you can manage money with your partner smoother than ever, tracking shared and personal accounts, setting goals, and staying on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. There have been a lot of times where it felt like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was starting to turn the corner. I'm a truther on all these guys. I believe in Wendell Carter. I understand it. I recognize his flaws. I recognize everything. I think Wendell Carter has been fine for the last month and a half. He's had a good little run over the last 6-7 weeks. I'm not as concerned about what the Magic are getting from Wendell Carter anymore. I have been watching Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and getting excited when it feels like he's about to make that mark and get on the right page. I get excited for that because I still believe in what Kentavious Caldwell-Pope can provide this team. I still believe that he can be the shooter that can elevate this team. But as so many people will say, and so many people are correct to say, we're more than 3/4 of the way through the season. We are in the dying light of the season, 15, 16 games remaining. You are who you are at this point. And the fact of the matter is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is a 31.1% three-point shooter this year. Why he has fallen off so much, why he has not been able to replicate nearly every season of his career is a mystery. Could there be a lingering injury he's playing through? Absolutely. Would not shock me at all. Could this just be a bad fit? Could KCP just be getting old all of a sudden? Absolutely. And this has major consequences consequences so bad that perhaps the Magic are hoping they could convince some other team that this is just one bad season and to cut bait now instead of having to eat the last 2 years of that contract. Very, very possible. We'll see what the Magic do this summer. But every time it feels like KCP is finding that rhythm, he just seems to lose it. Heading into the game Saturday against the Milwaukee Bucks, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope had scored more than 10 points in 3 straight games for the first time since late November. And it finally did feel like, okay, Kenny is starting to find his rhythm, starting to find his groove. He scored 9 points against the Bucks, a solid effort there. And then we get Monday's game, a goose egg. Not just a goose egg in that he didn't score any points, a goose egg in that he didn't take any shots. That's unacceptable. Now, I would argue the problem with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, same as the problem with Gary Harrison. I get yelled at for this all the time for saying this. When they don't get shots, it means the offense isn't working. Their shots, their field goal attempts are a product of the offense working for them. The ball naturally finding them because it's moving inside out, because it's moving out of double teams, because it is finding that shooter in the corner, that supposedly elite shooter in the corner. And Monday, the offense did not move. It was a bad offensive game all the way around. Ball didn't move. Not super surprised Kenny didn't get a ton of shots. And again, he didn't get any shots, so not super surprised by it at the end of the day. This is the struggle. This is the problem. And the reality might be the Orlando Magic have learned they're not looking for catch-and-shoot three-point shooters or solely catch-and-shoot three-point shooters. But here's the thing. Kenny's shot volume isn't different. He's just missing shots. According to NBA.com's tracking stats, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope shot 39.7% on 3.3 catch-and-shoot three-point attempts per game last year. This year, he's shooting 32.2% on the same shot volume. Even more, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope shot 44% on 2.2 wide-open three-point attempts per game last year. That's when the closest defender is 6 or more feet away. This year, he is making only 35% of his 1.9 attempts per game. The Magic knew when they signed Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, he was not a volume three-point shooter. And maybe that was the problem. The Magic probably need a guy who's going to take 6-7 threes per game. And frankly, that was Jalen Suggs before Paolo Banchero's injury. We didn't get to see that version of Jalen Suggs for very long. It was looking pretty good. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was not a volume shooter, and that was a fair criticism. I'm sure I made that criticism when we talked about him as a potential free agent option. Go back to my archives. Freezing cold, take me there later. But it just hasn't worked out. And again, like so many of these debates that the Magic are going to have this summer, they have to figure out, is this a product of a weird season? Or is this something we actually need to be worried about? That is a fair thing to wonder. Because I do believe Kenny will bounce back next year. Whether it's with the Magic or someone else, I do believe Kenny will be back to being a 36, 37, 38, 39% three-point shooter. Maybe his days as a 40% three-point shooter are done. But you don't get this bad this quickly without a reasonable explanation. Kenny still has a lot to prove to. And we can't erase this season, but he could still find a way to push this team forward. He could still find a way to contribute and help this team. And that is the ultimate question with him. Can he get there? Unfortunately, even in those good games that he had, Kenny had some high profile and awful misses. He had some high profile and awful misses. The kind of misses that do stick with you. And frankly, even a believer like me, the kind of misses that made me say, that's the shot the Magic paid him to make. It's great that he made 2, 3 threes earlier in the game. That 3 at the end of the game is why they paid him to be here. no doubt Kenny has not lived up to the billing. I think he'd tell you that. I think everyone would tell you that. But for the Magic to be successful, for the Magic to make something of the season, they're going to need Kentavious Caldwell-Pope the rest of the way. At the end of the day, we know what Paolo and Franz are going to give the Magic. We know that. We know what they're going to give. If the Magic are going to win games, if they're going to steal a game in their playoff series, they're going to make the playoffs through the play-in tournament, they're going to need a good Kentavious Caldwell-Pope game. They're going to need several good Kentavious Caldwell-Pope games to get where they want to be. There's no changing that this year. And when they get good Kenny, they have a very good chance to win. So let's end on a brighter note. Someone who has delivered and has responded, Cole Anthony, his wild season and what he's giving the Magic right now. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who is cutting down the nets. You can pick your favorites. I've got a few underdogs that I'm looking at this year. Excited for St. John's. It's a fun team to watch. My buddy Luke Hetrick, his St. Francis, Pennsylvania Red Storm are in the tournament as well. Very excited for that. And FanDuel makes it easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. With tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something exciting to bet on. Easy and fast, the FanDuel app is simple to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly, no waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on college hoops action all tournament long. Again, visit FanDuel.com to get started. At the beginning of the year, Cole Anthony told us, plain and simple, he was not playing well. Cole Anthony is not one to pull punches. He is not one to hide his emotions, to hide his feelings, to be self-critical when he has to be. That's what we love about Cole Anthony. He's all about his teammates. He's all about his team. And he's brutally honest with himself as much as everything else. It's why even though Cole Anthony does not seem like a perfect fit, it's hard to imagine this team without Cole Anthony. He has been with this team from the beginning of this rebuild. He's been the heart and soul of this team in a lot of ways, has carried the team through very thick waters, as well as contributed when things were a little bit easier. But Cole was out of the rotation early in the season. He was not pulling his weight, and the Magic sat him. First time in his career that he was not in the rotation. He was not getting consistent playing time. He had to earn his way back onto the court. And right now for the Orlando Magic, he is indispensable. We've talked about this over and over again, but this year, since the All-Star break, the Magic have only 3 players scoring in double figures. Paolo Banchero, 28.1 points per game. Franz Wagner, 22.3 points per game. And Cole Anthony now at 12.7 points per game. More than that, Cole is shooting 46.9% on threes since the All-Star break. That's right. The Orlando Magic have a good three-point shooter. Now, he did shoot 1 for 6 against the Rockets, so let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. But in a small sample of 9 games, Cole's making shots. And on top of this, outside of Paolo and Franz, Cole is probably the only player who can work off the dribble consistently and get his own points and score at will. Or not score at will, but get shots and create tension off the dribble. Anthony Black does it occasionally. I'm not going to say it's completely there. But other than those 4, and Anthony Black's been wildly inconsistent since the All-Star break as well. Other than those 4, the Magic just don't know where their scoring is going to come from or where their creation is going to come from outside their top 2 players. To say the least, right now when Cole Anthony plays poorly, the Magic play poorly. They need a Cole Anthony 15-point game to win or have a chance to win against any quality opponent. But I think Cole Anthony's story says something much more important. That there is still always time. As long as there's opportunity, there is still time to save your season. There's still the ability to build consistency, to reclaim your role, and to be the player we know you can be. Cole Anthony should not be starting. Let me make that clear. And that's not a knock on Cole Anthony. It is a knock on Cole Anthony, but it's the reality that Cole Anthony, despite his best efforts, struggles on defense. The Magic have to hide him a little bit on defense. But Cole Anthony makes up for it. He puts in the effort. He leads this team in a lot of ways. And he scores. And for a team that's short on offense, scoring is good. We're not going to complain about players who can put the ball in the basket, or at least do it enough, or be a threat to do it enough. Cole Anthony has really saved his season and created a role for himself. He has still found value for this team. And the way he kept faith in himself and worked his way through those struggles is really such a good sign and an inspiration for what's left this season. The Magic are comfortable that they're going to get what they're going to get from Cole Anthony. The example that Cole Anthony has set this season should be proof that, yes, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope can find himself again. There's still time. That Wendell Carter can still find himself again. That they can have some consistency as a group, as a lineup, to dominate their minutes and give this team the chance to win. That is still at the heart of who this Magic group is, of who this Magic team is, and what makes them still potentially dangerous as the season winds down. The Magic still have wins in them. But it's so much about consistency. It's about what you're going to get from these players every day. And that, even with Cole Anthony, is the uncertain part. Wendell Carter can have a great day or a great game or a great week and still put up a game like he did Monday night. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope can have a nice string of games and go score and go shotless like he did on Monday night. Cole Anthony can be reliable until he isn't. And Cole Anthony is nursing an injury right now. He is playing through it. He's got an issue with his left leg. Kind of built off the same thing as his big toe sprain that he missed a game for earlier. Didn't participate in all of practice on Wednesday. Still seems to be good to go. Still, they seem to be preserving him, and he knows he can play through it. The only consistent thing the Magic know they're going to get is from Paolo and Franz. And again, Franz had a bad game Monday too. The Magic are not winning any games if Paolo and Franz play poorly. That's just not how this is going to work. But whether the Magic are able to win more games, whether the Magic are able to compete against quality opponents and compete for a play-in spot, compete in the play-in tournament, is going to come down to everybody else. Who is coming along for the ride with the Orlando Magic? They have options. They have guys who've shown what they're capable of doing. It's just about showing you can do it every single night. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. Find me on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. As if all that's not enough, you can now check out the Locked On Magic Daily newsletter, the one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. Thank you, everyone, for your well wishes while I was dealing with my illness over the last 2 days. I am feeling a whole lot better right now. You can tell a little bit by my energy decreasing as the episode goes along. So I'm going to get my rest in here, get ready for game on Thursday and Friday. We'll have recaps of those games coming up on our next episodes of Locked On Magic. So until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.